Hi, Professor Zwick. I hope that you're doing well and that you had a pleasant holiday. I'm going to be using this video to show you my progress on my CISC 4900 project, Alexandria. So I'm going to go ahead and start it up, and we could start from the preloader. And here we have a splash screen with a status bar, and it's going to be showing us what exactly is happening in the initialization process. Right now, it's building a library, which is the class that handles all of the objects in memory, all of the sets, the cards, and so on. And right now it's going to be iterating through a JSON file to build the sets, and that JSON file is pulled periodically from the Scryfall API. It's also going to iterate through the SQL database with all of the card information and building all the objects there. So that this process doesn't take too long. In the morning at around 6 a.m. I have a scheduled process which actually calls the TCG Player API, which is the API that gives me all the pricing information. And at that time, it iterates through the entire SQL database and does all the calculations so that subsequent running of the program doesn't take too long. It's a very lengthy process, so that's why it happens once a day. The market doesn't move too quickly so that it has to be pulled more than once a day. So here all of our GUI elements have been built, and the program will start up now. And here we go. You'll notice a lot of new features have been added, and first I would like to go over right here on the bottom what I call the ticker pane, because it's showing all of the price movement market wide, the biggest movers up, the biggest movers down. These cards aren't necessarily in the collection, but a user could at a glance see what is happening in the market, what cards are increasing and decreasing in price for that particular day. I could also change to a collection view where I could see the movers in the collection. Here I have the biggest movers up. It restarts from the left, but if I switch back, it'll just start playing from where it left off. So here again we have movers up. We could do the same thing with the movers down in the collection. And this will just keep on scrolling throughout the running of the program. I could always switch back to other tickers, and also if I wanted to, I could pause it or play it again, or pause it and play it again, or I could just switch back and forth just to show you that we could switch there. Okay, so there's that. Also another feature, if you notice on the top right hand corner in the card viewer, when we do hover over one of these, we get to see the card image. And if we do choose so, we could go and click on it, and it will bring it up into the card focus view. This needs to be optimized a little bit more. Right now it needs to copy all of these price changes, which is why it takes a little longer. But here you'll see another feature that has been added. We can see the price history, and we can also toggle to see the time frame. Here we have the, by default, it shows the month, the price changing in the last month. And if we hover over one of these nodes, we could also see how much the price was for that day with the date. So there's that. And also, if we wanted to, we could look at the past week, see the change in the past week, and see the full price history. All right, so if we go back to collection here, we can always swap back and look at that, and that would change for any other card. Another feature that has been added is pretty much the central feature of the entire application. This is the collection pane. This is where all of your cards in your inventory will be shown, and you get a summary of the price movement. And here we have our inventory pane, and this shows details of the batches of cards that have been added. That's added by this widget here, which actually could be found in several other windows for convenience. So for example, if I search for a card here on this pane, I could also look at all the additions and add or remove from collection here. There, I didn't save anything. Failed to save. I could cancel that over here. And also in this window, in the inventory pane, I could also remove these from my collection if I do choose so. I could just delete it, and in case I maybe made a mistake, I I added the wrong card, delete it without any other, it'll just totally delete it from the history. I could do that. I could also sell the card, and this will also be kept track of in the database, so that all of these calculations, for example, liquidated, if I sold, this would go up, and the gain loss would reflect this has already been taken out of my inventory, but it's been liquidated. And that's what happens with these sell and trade. But right now I'm just going to delete this and show you that this actually changes. So this is another feature that has been added, the dashboard, and this will show a summary of the movement as well as the value in my collection. So if I go ahead and delete it, you'll notice that here the uncommon, since this is an uncommon card, this value will go down, the mid value will down, pretty much everything will go down if I delete it. And there we go, and that also happens if I sell or trade. This will reflect in the other parts of the dashboard. So this is kind of an at-a-glance view of what is happening in the collection. The value, the movement, the day, the week, and the month. A similar widget is here, which was actually already implemented last time I showed you. But here you'll see that if the price goes up, we have green, we have an at-a-glance color scheme that it's easier for a collector to see the price movement. We have these summaries of the percentage up and down here. Also in the inventory screen, we could also see the total value and the gain, loss versus the price acquired. So you actually see the growth in collection this way. If we click on any one of these, also will show up in the card focus pane. And I'll be able to show you, so here, there's that. I'd like to show you another thing. If we click on this card, this has a foil and a non-foil variant, which are just, one version is foiled. It's kind of a premium version, while one is a regular, and you see that when a card has a foil and a non-foil variant, it will show both of the price movement. And here we have non-foil in orange and foil in yellow. Again, if you hover over these nodes, you could see the date and the price. Up here, you can see it's paginated, so I could just go to the second page. This is so that it doesn't take too long for this this window to load. The pagination helps with that. I could also just use the number buttons to navigate. Also sorting options. So we have several sorting options. By default, it shows the price movement up for the 1 day. I could also choose down for 1 day. It'll show the biggest movers down. It's kind of pretty much the same as this, but you could look at it through this window rather than just rely on the ticker. We could also use value, which means this is the total value, not the price movement. We could see our largest value cards up at top. It orders by that. Or we could do the opposite, value by low. And this is sorted by the regular, not the foil price. We could also see our price movement up in a week, down in a week. We could see month, our movement up month, and a movement down by month. Also, there's these toggle switches where we could actually, just maybe if we want to look at just the uncommons, we could just toggle everything else off and see the movement in just the uncommons, view just the uncommons in the set. Or any other combination that we desire. Or we could even just, if we'd like to, we could search for a card. So here we'll search. Oop. And there we go. In real time, it will actually change the cells. You could add any collection, you could cancel that. And that is one of the main panes. And there we go. We could see everything else here. So that's pretty much the collection pane. Another couple of features that I've added is through the sets here. We also have the sorting that was already there, but if we look at a specific set, we could do something similar. We could sort by collector number, sort by alphabetical, and also like before, high, today up, and so on and so forth. So we could keep track of our collections movement, see what has been going up or down during the month. And again, if we choose to, we could look at a movement of prices here. It's also paginated, has the same search feature as the collection pane, where we could just write a card name, and if we just want to quickly look up a card in a set, you could use that. And here we have the graphs. Again, with the foil and non-foil variant. Similarly, we could look at the entire collection history. Here we have a graph showing the price movement, the value of the collection, of the entire collection. And here we have on the top, we have our mid price, which is a kind of focused price here. We have a low price, which is kind of a low bold price, just to keep an eye on how the collection is being valued at a low price. And the green, we have the amount invested. So you could see amount invested versus the growth of the actual collection. And here, just to focus again on the dashboard pane, just to give you another rundown here. I already went over this, so you could see the value of the collection and how it's moved in the day, week, and month. Here we have total invested, which is the amount of money that we have actually spent on these cards versus the gain and loss. This is the profit or loss if there was a profit, and here's the percentage profit or loss. If we had sold cards and we wanted to keep track of how well we've been doing with liquidation here, we could keep track of how much we've profited in the past. So it actually takes into account past transactions as well as current collection status. So something that I glossed over our last meeting, but I wanted to put a little bit of time into, is just to explain this left pane here. This is very, very important. This is one of the first things that I implemented, because this schedule over here actually handles all of the scheduled processes. You'll see that there's a little color-coded calendar here, and we can actually look in future processes that are scheduled. You'll notice on Wednesday I have more. I'll go over that in a minute. Right now, I also want to show you that I could go back and show you all the processes that have been run during the day. So here I could go into any specific day, schedule a process. Most of these are back-end processes. For example, here the MTG Top 8 scraper. This is going to be doing a lot of the metagame scraping. It goes to mtgtop8.com, and it iterates through all of the formats and all the pages and pulls all of the decks. That is a feature that is left to be implemented that I need to implement. But all of the data has been being scraped for the past, I would say, it's been about 10 months. So this has been scraping a lot of data, has not been used yet, but I look forward to implementing that. That is going to be very involved. A lot of the functions in the metagame pane are kind of out of the scope of this class. They're going to take me a lot longer than I anticipated. But right now, I do have the ability to get all of that information offline. The MTG's Top 8 scraper is a scraper that I built. There's something similar for, if you see on Wednesdays, I usually scrape another site called MTG Goldfish. And here, this is a past process from this past Wednesday, and you can see that they all ran successfully. Now, if I wanted to schedule a process, I could do so in this window, where I could write a command. We could write the interval in which it actually runs and the time it actually runs. If I wanted to run something at 1 p.m. on, well, this is in the past, but I just want to show you here every week. We could do this, and maybe we want to do, I could just pull this down. This will automatically, if we wanted to do another scrape, oh, we got to do that first. One day at 1 p.m. And we could just do any command we want, and when we save it, it'll actually save it to a database. But we won't do that because I don't want to complicate having to clean that up afterwards. So here we see a future scheduling process. That's for April 22nd. We see that we're going to be, like I said, 6 a.m. It's going to pull the prices, and then it's going to automatically update the database. So that's how a lot of the back end has been managed via this interface, which I'll show you. It's pretty much just an extension of this. I could always run any of these commands manually in this interface, and also I have manuals here. If we just do -m, you can see that there is a manual for all the modules. This definitely needs to be fleshed out a bit. Not everything is being written, but if we, for example, if we wanted to look at everything that's available under the Goldfish scraper, you could look at the user manual for that, and we could see, again, this needs to be fleshed out, but this shows some of the commands that I could run. And these commands are usually scheduled in here, and they're used to update the JSON database for the sets, and also update the JSON card database, which updates the SQL database. And that is run every time a new set comes out or legalities change. But most of the time, I will just schedule them beforehand. I know beforehand that a set's going to come out, so I'll schedule a module to, say, pull the card images that you'll see up here on the top right-hand corner. That can be done with the Scryfall API, and if I could clear this, and if I want to see the Scryfall user manual, and here I could see I could pull the file for the sets, I could pull the file for cards. All missing border will pull all of the missing border crop images. I could pull a set icon, I could pull images for a specific set, and so on. So all of these modules that you'll see that could be scheduled, just to show you, TCG Player API, Scryfall API, Goldfish Scraper, and so on, and TCG Top 8 Scraper, they're all classes that handle this back-end functionality, this data aggregation. When they're running, I have this little kind of LED module, I call it, and it'll actually show which is running at the time, just so I have a visual confirmation that something's going on. And here, backup utility. This is so that I don't lose all of my data. I back up everything when it's pulled. I've had several crashes during the course of this project. This is a pretty old computer. It's from a 2010 Mac Mini, so I do take precaution not to lose all the data that I pulled via this backup utility. You can see that I could change the directory that it does back up into. Right now I have it on an external hard drive. Right now it's backing up to this, to HD2, HD array 2, and we have our backup history. All of the database objects are backed up into this directory. And I could change, of course. I also, of course, change the directory it does back up to, but we're going to keep it there. So that is something that I built pretty early on and have been adding functionality to be able to manage all of the data that the program needs. So yeah, that's pretty much the progress that I've made since the last time you've seen the program. You could see that it is now pretty much functional, not polished, of course. Several things that need to be added. But there's a little bit of redundancy in the widgets. I wanted the user to be able to uh, add things to the collection from a variety of different windows. This right pane, which is kind of self-explanatory, you could just pretty much look up any card in entirety of Magic, and it will show you all of the additions. And even from here, a user could kind of quickly just go over their collection, type in, all their cards, add them to collection, and it will actually show in here. And then as they add more things to collection, they could use pretty much any of these widgets, and it will show their inventory right here in this inventory widget here. So I hope that you enjoyed this this demonstration. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I hope that you stay safe and be well.